Hello, hello. So let's just check that both Facebook and YouTube are working well. Could you just pop a note in the comments, please, just to let me know that Facebook or YouTube or whichever you're on is working. Oh, if I turn the comments on, that would help, wouldn't it? Then I could see. Also give you, thank you, Sarah. Hello. Lovely. So we got Facebook working. Just see if anybody's going to join us on YouTube. If there's anybody you think might enjoy or benefit from this, do share while we're just waiting for a few seconds. Just and if there's anything you'd like me to be aware of in very general terms, because obviously this is going up on the comments, but I have an unthemed session today because it's, I'll explain about this once I really get going. But if there's anything that as a general thing you would like me to be aware of as a possible, just general awareness for the session, do pop that in the comments. Otherwise we'll just go with the flow and see what comes up. Okay. So welcome to my 5th live energy healing session. Unlike the last 4, I have decided today not to theme it because we are now in this period of pause. Well, it's stretching out, isn't it? So it didn't seem appropriate to carry on with the same theme, although I am fully aware that fear and balancing fear and feeling calm are obviously still very valid. Now, so I will just go with the flow. As always, I will chat through what comes up in the session. I try and explain as best I can what I'm aware of so that you can get a handle on that. Try not to grip onto any particular aspect because it's the session as a whole that is going to be very, that works as a whole. So we have an open session. I'll just go with the flow, and everything that comes up is very much coming up in a neutral way to be rebalanced so that you feel better. Okay, there's nothing particularly for you to do. So what I would suggest is that you make yourselves comfortable. You can be sitting or lying, whatever works for you. And maybe what might be nice is to set an intention for yourself as to what, if there's something you would like to get out of this session, just have that intention now. Just tune in to whatever it is that you would like to rebalance as a result of the session. So just take a moment to think of that. But it's very much a question of just think of it once and let it go. When we go through a door, we don't go backwards and forwards, in and out, just to make sure we've got through the door. So it's very much a kind of set it and forget it idea. Okay, so we can play with that today as well. All right, so I'm just going to calm my mind down. And then we'll get going. Actually, I need to have some water before I can get going. I'm wondering if you're well hydrated, if you have that kind of ping of maybe not, then you can act on that. Okay. So just get comfortable. And maybe just take a couple of breaths. Just focus on your breath and watch it go in and out, but don't try and force it in any way. Just observe it. Allow yourself to come into the body, release tension from any areas of the body that might be tight. You can imagine that you're breathing into those areas if you like, and breathe into those areas that are tight and then breathe out all that tension. Okay, so we're actually starting the session off with an awareness of the throat chakra. So the throat chakra is, the chakras are energy centers in the body, and the 7 main ones that are lined up along the center, they each have different aspects of you that they are involved with. And the throat is all to do with communication, self-expression, and giving. Now, the focus of around this throat chakra is on using words kindly, being careful with your choice of words. And actually, what this is referring to, it's not necessarily, it's not, my main focus is not on how you're talking to other people. It's on how you're talking to yourself. It's how the internal chatter is going, and how, we can all be our own hardest critics, can't we? And so it's to do with being kinder to yourself. And there's the emotional release of sadness at the realization of not having been as kind to yourself as you could perhaps have been, as far as your internal chatter goes. And then this is then mirrored into your interactions with other people. And there's this consciousness of being aware of how you interact, of being maybe a bit softer in those interactions. There's now a focus on the solar plexus. So this is this energy center in the tummy, and this one is all to do with your sense of self, your sense of personal power, and it's also to do with receiving. So it actually is the partner. If you can think of the heart as being the center, and then if you move out in pairs, the throat and the solar plexus are a natural pairing. So there is this focus on the solar plexus. It's to do with getting greater clarity on what you want for yourself. And giving yourself permission to allow that. You know, when we're in our best possible state, that's when we can be most useful and helpful externally as well. And so why it's not a selfish thing to, it's you know, it's a bit like the you know, oxygen mask analogy, for example. You know, you put your own on and then you can help other people. It's that sort of idea. So it's this permission to allow yourself to be the sort of the biggest, best version of yourself. It's consciousness of the connection between the central nervous system and the rest of the body, circulation of the blood. So we've got oxygenation and information and chemicals and many different aspects. And we've also got to focus on the Wei Qi. Now, the Wei Qi is actually an energy that that we have underneath, in and just off the skin. And its job is to protect us from the outside world. I mean, whether that can be from a physical knock, but it can also be from other people's emotions, for example. So when it comes up in a session, it's to allow it to rebalance so that it's the optimum protective thickness, if you like, not over and not under protective. So that's one aspect of the Wei Qi. The other is that it's also inside the body. It goes in through all the orifices of the body. And the other side of the Wei Qi's function is really to do with processing. You know, if you've taken on somebody else's emotion, for example, whether you use it and let go of it, or whether it's hung on to in some way by the body. So again, this is to focus on optimal processing, using and letting go, and not hanging on to stuff that you don't need to hang on to. So, and this is with a view to allowing or to maintaining a certain amount of, to not creating habit patterns that don't serve you. That's what we're dealing with here. So, and there's a sense of flow down through the body as things release and adjust. There's then a focus on the connective tissue within the body. You know, everything is connected to everything else within the body. And so, you know, it's a bit like if you can imagine a sheet. If you got a corner of the sheet and you scrunched it up and you twisted it and gave it a pull, every single stitch, every piece of thread in that sheet would have its tension and shape altered by having just twisted and pulled one corner of that sheet. So it's the same kind of idea with the connective tissue in the body. You know, one thing shifts and every other part of the body knows about it. So it's this idea of everything being connected. So it's to do with balancing the body, allowing tension you don't need to move on, to release. There's a focus on balancing the left and right sides of the body as well. And the pancreas reflex point is coming up. So this is an acupuncture point just underneath, it's just on the side of the ribs. And it deals with, well, it can deal, it has various different things that it can, that it's involved with. One is blood sugar level balance, general imbalances in the body, left-right balance. And it's one that in Chinese medicine is called the enveloping embrace. So this is really to give you a feeling of being nurtured and nourished, all your needs met, safe. And that's bringing us to the sense of grounding. So we produce an excess of positive charge in the body. And when we put our bare feet on the ground releases negative charge. So we are neutralizing ourselves physically when we make contact. And I'm bringing the energy of that idea into the session. So it's to do with this sort of double thing of allowing the excess positive charge to release from the body and for earth energy to come up into the body. So it's an exchange, is what I'm aware of right now. We've got the sense of hearing coming up now, connecting to the solar plexus, actually to do with your sense of self. And yeah, the emotion of fear is coming in around this awareness as well. So when the senses come up, in this case we've got hearing, it's to do with allowing a greater clarity of understanding through your sense of hearing. It's allowing some of the filters that naturally build up to fall away so that you can, as I say, get better clarity of interpretation of what you're hearing. And how this, and there was this sort of awareness of the connection to the solar plexus from an emotional perspective. And again, we've got this sense of releasing down through the body and grounding. So still this sense of flow down the body. I'm also aware of the lower back, around the sacrum and into the lumbar area. And around this, there is this awareness of flexibility. I think we can safely say we've all had to learn to be very flexible in some ways over the past few weeks. And so there's consciousness of resistance, and I have an awareness actually of stiffness as well. So the spine can also represent support, and that could be physical or it could be more metaphorical, could be bigger picture. So we've got that idea as well coming in. And now my attention is being brought back to the breath, as if the breath is being breathed in up through the soles of the feet, up the front of the body, and down the back of the body. You might like to do that for a breath cycle or two. Breathe in and up the front of the body. and then out down the back. And again up the front of the body and down the back. And then now there's this sense of grounding, of centering. And just holding the space while everything settles. And then we've got the Aum coming in. This is a bit like the yoga Om. It's a 3-sound combination, and different parts of the body resonate when with this combination. And so when it comes into a session, it's really to do with synchronizing everything that's come up in the session with you from a resonating vibrational perspective. Okay, and then that seems to be settling now. Okay, so that's the end of today's session. I hope that that's been helpful. And if you would like to book a session, just please do so through my website. And do join me again next week. Thank you so much. Goodbye.